in the panel discussion on the relevance of industrial research in Indian universities in context of National Education Policy 2020. Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Jayanand, Professor Amar Garg, Dean Research, Shobhit University, Meerut, a galaxy of intellectuals comprised of academicians and industry experts. I wholeheartedly welcome you all in panel discussion, and we are grateful that you have spared your valuable time to discuss this significant issue. Before moving further, I request Professor Amar Garg to please brief about today's program. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you very much. You all know that the national education policy has been brought after a very long time. And we already have seen that this policy is very good, fantastic, provided it is implemented. So, Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology has taken a lead that how to implement and how to make a framework for the implementation by the universities and industries. Last year also, we had organized a wonderful session on NEP 2020, where more than 36 vice chancellors had joined, and we had framed certain policies. So we are going to take the same viewpoint further. You know that in the NEP 2020, it has been made mandatory that the Indian universities and the Indian universities industries, they should collaborate with each other. Okay, fine, wonderful idea. But how to collaborate? How the universities will collaborate with the industries? How the industries will collaborate with the universities? What should be the mode of operation? What should be the modalities? What the government will help? How the government will facilitate? And how it will benefit to the students? So for that very purpose, this webinar series has been planned by the Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology. And so some of the great scientists, policy makers, and from the industries, they have been selected to start. So this is today is the first meeting. And let me introduce Professor Prakash Bashain. He is the pioneer in education and industry both. And he is the policy maker, has been the policy maker at the University Grants Commission level also. He was a member of the Executive Council of the University Grants Commission, founder member of the JNU Jaipur, former Vice Chancellor of the Jivaji University Gwalior, and he is the advisor to the several food industries, biotech firms, not only in India, but at the international level. So, and the second, let me introduce Professor R.L. Raina. He is having the wide exposure to the industries. He was earlier for the 2 terms, he was the Vice Chancellor in J.K. Lakshmipathy University, J.K. Cement Industry, as you all know. So he is having the wide exposure for the industry as well as the academics. And Professor Ranjit Singh, he is the Vice Chancellor of the Shobhit University, Gango, and he is having the wide experience of the industries in the pharma industry as well as in the administration policy making. He is since last more than 10 years. Professor Jayanand, he is admitting the PVC in the Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Meerut, and he is having the vast experience of the biomedical industry as well as the administration and the policy makers. And we are having the Professor Deepa. She is also having more than 10 years of the experience in the policy making and in the industry of the chemical industries and the wide exposure. So we have been able to select the selected administrators, policy makers to discuss this issue, and the selected industries. Let me introduce the Manu Seth, and he's from the Speaking Minds. He's having the wide and vast experience of the international industries and the exposure. And another person we are having, Mr. Supreet Nagarjun, and he is having the vast experience of the education industry, Adobe, software industry, multinational level. You know that at present, without the computer education in the software industry, it is difficult to manage any of the affair. And so the
Amar sir, you are not audible.
His image is frozen. Probably he is out.
Right, sir. Professor Jayanand, should we begin?
Yeah, I would request you to continue the session.
Right.
And the first speaker may place his words, please.
Right, sir. Right, sir. So to begin the panel discussion, first we'll request the panelists to present their views on the emerging issue and this topic on the relevance of industrial research in Indian universities with context to National Education Policy 2020. And for this, I request Professor Dr. P.S. Bisain, former Vice Chancellor, Jivaji University, Gwalior, to please, sir, share your views about the same.
I think the organizer of this program, particularly Professor Amar Garg, for asking me to present before every one of you my views about the NAP 2020. I was going through the NAP 2020. The best part which I appreciate in this particular policy document, that is the flexibility, and the flexibility that should be utilized by every institution.
If I am correct, you are referring to NEP, not NAC, right?
NAP.
Okay.
National Education Policy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm talking about the National Education Policy.
Right.
And probably this is being organized in view of that NAP 2020 and how to modify it and how to consult it. So the only thing what I appreciate in the NAP 2020 is the flexibility program and the credit system. Now with the flexibility program, the institution, they can take advantage of having collaboration with Indian and foreign universities. Now, for instance, now this is the era of technology, and there is acute shortage of the qualified staff in most of the organizations. Now, when we are living in the system where we are talking about the machine learning, we are talking about the artificial intelligence, we are talking about the Internet of Things, we are talking about the blockchain, we are talking about the decentralization in the currency exchange, and then we need the proper type of faculty in the institution, and the faculty is not available in the market. So with that type of thing, how are you going to compete with the system? The only alternative what I can see, now you forget about that, you can have the faculty in your organization of all fields. It's almost impossible. This I am talking to you not only about the technology, you can see even in sociology, data scientists is there, data analysts are there, big data is there. So it's the computer and the technology associated with computer is the dominant technology in the entire education system. Now, still we are running the education system of 40s or 50s, the same, the classroom, and then you take the lecture and all that. Now with this education policy, those institutions who will take lead in having collaboration in these different areas. Now, supposing you are running a program, and in that program, that requires physics, chemistry, and mathematics. That, well, these are the basic core faculty. You have the faculty, you have the teaching faculty who can teach to the student. But if the students, they want to learn more about the technology, maybe Internet of Things, maybe about the robot technology, maybe about the blockchain. So you can have the collaboration. You can have the collaboration with Cambridge University, with Harvard University, with any university wherever you get, and where they have the faculty, they can take the program, and there they can give you the program of 6 months where you can get the credit. Now again, with the online international program, there are two types of programs. One where you can get the credit, And that credit you can add at the time of award of degree to the student. And the another one is non-credit program, where they will not issue a certificate. The student, they can attend it free of cost. They can attend, they can refresh their knowledge in the modern field. So these are the two aspects. Now, you can have different program, the hybrid program, where 50% is of the local university and 50% from the foreign university. You can have that you decide about as per your strength in the educational system. You can have the 70% of your basic program of your organization and 30% of the hybrid program, whereby you can have the collaboration from foreign university, maybe of England, maybe of America, maybe of Germany, wherever you want to go. Automobile engineering, automobile technology, remote sensing. So these are the different type of programs, and whereby you can serve the student in a much better way instead of having the same program which you are running. Second thing, I find that most of the universities, in order to generate more and more funding, they are charging very heavy fees for PhDs. Maybe they are charging 2 lakh rupees per annum, and after 3 years, we will award you PhD entrance examination, and everybody is being awarded PhD, whether they are having facilities in this specific area or not. That is going to create problem after 4 or 5 years. When you will have more PhD, now this is the era where you have to concentrate more on generating the skill. This is the skill generating program, and the NAP 2020 that gives you chance to have the collaboration. Even if you don't have collaboration, you ask the student, you go and you register yourself for this program of any university, and you give me the credit of that, that will be added in your program, and we will give you the additional credit of my university, and ultimately at the time of award of degree, that will be added, and you can provide the degree to the student. So you have to generate a model whereby you can have the program with MOU, where you can have program without MOU, where you give the flexibility to the student that you select the university in foreign university as per your requirement in the technology, and give me the credit certificate that will be added in your program. Now, this type, you have to provide, or you have to generate your own model. And if you generate your own model, probably we will be able to generate good human resources for the society. Now, the basic difficulty in our system is now the proper human resources are not available for the university for the teaching position. This is the technological era, and in technological era, you need to have a faculty who is a specialist in a specific technological area. Now, what is happening otherwise? The TCS, Infosys, they have generated a training center, internship, that those students who are coming out with their technical degree, B.Tech, whatever, and then they select the student from your lot, the entire lot, some few students, and provide them training in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and out of them 10% or 20% they provide the permanent job, depending upon their performance in the company. So instead of these people are doing that job, you can create an atmosphere, and whereby ultimately these 2 years where the students are earning their degree, ultimately I consider that is a wasteful program if we do not develop hybrid program, and if we do not impart training in the technological area. The second thing which I want to raise over here, most of the private universities are coming up very rapidly. Some are doing very well. Why not you consider I get number of requests that please organize some placement training for this student for 6 months training or 10 months training or 3 months training, because I am associated with a food industry. Now, in industry, the production is not only the industry requirement. Industry have got the finance department, industry have got the human resource department, management department, technological, the fermentation technology, testing department, quality control. So there are a number of different type of departments. Now the private institution, they are also an industry. They can absorb a student for 6 months for internship training. They can be posted at the account section of the university. So whereby what will happen? They will get the accounts training for 6 months and give them some small amount, so they would also feel encouraged. Well, if supposing you have number of students, now some students, they can get the training in the accounts department. Some students, they can get the training in the placement cell. Some students, they can get the training in admission and then rotate them. Say those who were having the training in account section, they can be reposted to another department. So in the private university, they themselves, they are the industry, and where the student, you can take the advantage of the human resources, whatever you have, you can channelize their energy. Now those classroom lectures will not serve the purpose of the students, and more so the students are not interested in that. They want to learn something new. And the moment you, no matter, even if you give 500 rupees for internship within the university, out of their fees, then I think the students, they will feel that sense of owning is there. And the sense of owning, sense of responsibility, you have to generate among the students. And at the time, at present time, the students, they do not have any sense of owning. So the moment you will involve them in technological advancement, and within the university, if you provide them the internship within the university system, if you give them to get the proper training, some students, they can go in the horticulture department, plantation. So with that, what will happen? They will generate sense of responsibility. They will attach with the plants. They will attach with the social environment of the institution. So the students, you provide a small group and provide them these jobs. So with this, what will happen? The student, they will develop sense of responsibility, sense of owning for the institution, and together with, they will generate the proper technological advancement while having education in your organization. This is what I want. I will interact with other people and then will give my more ideas, because I also started a startup for some time and associated with the company. So that I will tell you later about my experience. One correction, Professor Amar Garg said that I was the Vice Chancellor young. I was Vice Chancellor at the age of 46, not 36. At 36, I became professor in the university.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry for the interruption. And now,
Thank you, sir.
I request Mr. Manu Seth. Mr. Manu Seth.
Yeah, morning, everyone. And
please focus on that, how the industries can collaborate with the Indian universities for the research purpose.
Okay, sure, sir. Sure. So
Yes,
I think Professor sir has really highlighted many things, and I see that there are a lot of points that needs to be addressed at a macro level and a micro level. And I'm sure there is a lot of great minds working on it, and everything takes its own time to get corrected. One thing where I feel there could be a lot of blend and a mix match, which he also mentioned, was that academics as an institution should also join hands with industry, and it has to be vice versa. Even industry should join hands with the institutions, where towards the final graduation time, towards the final convocation time, there has to be some learnings around a difference between talent and skill. What I'm trying to say is that there has to be some skill development orientation programs or credits or certifications. Because what is happening is that when the students are moving out to the industrial market or to any segment, some are going back to take over or work on their family businesses. Some are going from a perspective of jobs. Some are going from a perspective of business. And the realities are very, very different. And that is where the whole jing bang of discussions, where whether we are getting the right talent or not, or whether we are doing the campus recruitment, whether we are getting good talent, everything is like a question mark. So it's a larger circle that needs to be addressed. But yes, for that macro, there are a lot of micro things that needs to be built up, say from even today, that will take another 3-4 years to be corrected. So I feel from the academic perspective, there should be more focus towards the skills, that what the skill sets they are developing and how that skill set is going to be implemented and complement their own talent. Because when you talk about a business model, a revenue model, whether it is a family business or the corporate world or the industrial world, everyone starts talking about performance, accountability, job cuttings, retrenchments, performances. And that is where the disconnect starts happening between people, that what I learned and what I'm delivering is very different. The market realities are different because they need to be given that practical exposure. Yes, lot of programs are happening, lot of institutes are tying up with industries, and I see that needs to be made as a regular practice, so that a lot of students that are coming out of the universities or going out into the market, whether they go back to their family business or their entrepreneur skills or even to the corporate world, they know some facts and figures and they start facing realities well in time. So I use a word called catch them young, which education industry is really building a lot. And there are a lot of transformations which you people are doing, no doubt about it. Everyone is adopting the technology to the best, whether you talk about robotics, smart classes, IoT, drones, many things is happening. But the moment when you start talking about consumer, because people come up and say, oh, I have an idea, I have a thought, now you do it. The point is, when you take that idea to the last mile on the ground, which involves some financial capital, and that is where the ball starts turning. It is my own financial capital or it is someone else's financial capital. If it is my own, then it's like a family business. Okay, dad is thinking that, okay, fine, my son or my daughter, he or she is learning. So you can even forego some million of dollars by the time your kid is getting onto the road. But in the commercial world, no one is going to even spare a cent. Either you are hired or you are fired. So a lot of these things happen. And my only one submission, and I'm here to listen from a lot of eminent people here from the universities. The only one thing is that a lot of skill orientation and the credit should go on the skill set towards their final years when they are moving out of the institution, because they are not facing the realities. They just go for intern. And that too also happens with references. Oh yeah, you refer my son here, you refer my daughter here. Oh, he's a good, fine. They all are good. They are all the future kids. But they need to face the reality, and which they face later. And then every ball starts bouncing back. So my one input would be catch the young. Second point would be skill set is to be integrated well. And somewhere I'm sure you people might be working a lot on the overall credit rating system. Practical exposure is must, whether you call that as a skill program, you call it as an entrepreneur program, or you call it anything which is having facts and figures which may complement back to their either family business or the corporate world or the industry or his entrepreneurship, anything. That's where I'll hold my stand for a while.
You have nicely pointed out that the skill orientation and the practical knowledge, these are the two most important aspects of the educational system which need to be integrated in the Indian university system. Then only the right connect between the industries and the universities will happen. So now I would like to invite Professor Raina. He is having the vast experience of the industries and the university administration both. So Professor Raina, what is your opinion? You are having the dual role. So how you visualize that, how the in the NEP 2020 the industries and the universities can collaborate better for the betterment of the country and to become the Atmanirbhar Bharat. And you know that many times the people, they say that our graduates are having the theoretical knowledge, but when they come out, then the industries are not able to employ them. So what is your idea about it, Professor Raina?
All right, Garg Saab, am I audible to everybody?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so very much, Garg Saab, for being kind to first invite me to be a part of this very, very wonderful, rich panel discussion, and then saying what you said about me, right? You are a good friend, and it's always in the scheme of things, friends talk highly about friends, right? I have heard you when you said, yeah, National Education Policy 2020 is a great idea, great thought, great plan, but issues are there when it comes to implementation. I am mindful of that. I also heard Besen Saab talking about the features, some of the features of NEP, particularly, flexibility, interdisciplinariness, and new age technologies. I heard him, all right. I also heard Manu when he emphasized on developing the requisite skill sets and competencies in the youth that we churn out from universities. I echo what they have said, but since you said your agenda for this panel discussion session is relevance of industrial research in Indian universities in the context of NEP. You know, Garg Saab, after this NEP was announced about a couple of years back, how many conferences, how many webinars, how many seminars have been organized, particularly talking about enriching academic and industry interface. So much has been talked about it. So I won't go over what has been talked about and what has not been talked about. I will just confine my remarks to the research agenda, right? Which is the core of your panel discussion session. I would say academic industry interface has to move down from panel discussion sessions to the classroom activities. I would start, my first submission is academic industry interface has now to move from these panel discussions to really what is happening in the classrooms. So what I mean to say is very clearly and loudly, three things academics as industry has to partner with. If we are not to pay lip service to this agenda, we have been paying and will continue to pay the lip service. Yes, academics and industry have to collaborate, have to come together. Then only it will be a win-win situation for academics as well as industry. I would say, hey, please stop just discussion on the seminars, platforms, webinars. Go to the classroom. What I mean by that is three things: the input, the process, and the output, which happens in the universities. Input as to what you teach to your students. Process, how you teach and evaluate what you teach your students. And then where do you produce your people for the output, right? The industry. So the industry and academics has to be in sync with on the course curriculum, on the design and delivery of that course curriculum, and also on the assessment and evaluation, because that will ultimately make us prepare our youth which are ready for the industry that we are preparing. Now, how many examples are there in the universities which are not paying lip service? They may have boards of studies, they may, which by virtue of the requirements are to have a 50-50, if not more, blend of academics and industry. They are there, but when it comes to the course curriculum, when it comes to the delivery, I don't see real service paid to industry academic interface in the classroom. What happens? So we as academics teach them what we feel is the best. And at very, very rare occasions, we have an industry guy come on and talk to them, deliver a session on your area. That is not integrated. That is not happening in a seamless fashion. Unless the industry is prepared to join hands and academics are prepared to accept the industry inputs in the manner that befits an academic curriculum, that will not happen. Similarly, when we look at assessments and evaluations, we have time-tested midterms, end terms. How do we involve? Hey, maybe there's a quiz which is required. Maybe there's an assignment that is required, which will come to us from industry. Hey, if you are preparing your people for this kind of a sector, this kind of industry, then it will be worth its while. Similarly, on the connect with the industry. So I would say my first point, that it has to trickle down to the classroom in anything and everything that we as academics do with our students while they are there. The skill sets and competencies, I may not agree 100% with Manu sir, that it has to be towards the last leg of their stay in the campus. I would say it has to be a continuous ongoing process, because you cannot hone a skill set or a competency, whatever that skill set or competency may be, when you are giving those tips and inputs and insights in the last leg. No, we have done it. We have proved it. If it is done continuously during the 2 years, 3 years, 4 years study teaching cycle of the student. So that is on the academics part. Coming back to the research, which is the agenda of your discussion, I did something remarkable in my previous assignment. You rightly said, hey, JK is JK tire, JK paper, JK cement, JK so on and so. So it is one next to none in the country as far as its industrial exposure is concerned. What we did was, we made sure in the first year of engineering, 5 teachers, it may be amazing, 5 teachers taught just one course for full semester of 6 months. And out of those 5 teachers, 1 was from the industry. 1 was from the industry, right? So he was involved in not only conceptualizing, but also planning the delivery of the course, so that at the end of it, when the students finished the project, the products were there because it had that industry input. We were not teaching them for the sake of teaching. So industry came up. The guy from the industry said, yeah, we are talking about applying these new age technologies, which Bisenza have talked about, robotics, machine learning, AI, whatnot. We are talking about introducing this to improve or effectively or expeditiously increase the turnout. So how can we do it? So there were people from mechanical in that, there were people from mathematics in that group, there were people from this. So ultimately we were able to come out with solution to that problem. So that is what I am saying. Industry has to identify its problem, which are very much there, and has to come to academics and make sure the academics and industry join hands to solve those real life research intensive problems. They may be small. I'm not talking about rocket science kind of a problems. They'll be done by researchers. They'll be attempted by researchers. But there was, I don't remember exactly the problem which my own industry tires were facing, though we have the world's best tire research laboratory in Kankroli. But the problem was there was some issue in the pulley, and with which the speed was lowered. So they came up with a research problem, and our students and faculty worked with that, and we provide the solution. If we had gone outside, probably they had to spend hefty sums of money. So all I am saying is industry in India is abounding in small little problems. And if it is prepared to join hands with academics, and academics welcome and receive them with open-minded thought and integrate with them, then the problems can come about, and we will be as academics trying to understand and solve the problems of Indian industry. They may not, I say, be rocket science problems. They may not be big problems, but there are research intensive problems. And that will also trigger the other thought process, which was an experience in my previous organization. Once we provided 2-3 small little such solutions to major problems in the industry, we said, oh, entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem is ripe in this university. So we invited industry, we prepared the youth who have brilliant ideas, then it was meeting of the minds. So the third thing I would say is, academics and industry, if they join hands, they can create an ecosystem which is innovative in nature, which is entrepreneurial in nature, and then the research will take off. So my submission and last word is, let academics and industry come hand in hand, understand and appreciate each other's strengths and limitations, sky's the limit for them to integrate meaningfully on research agenda. I stop here and thank you once again, Amar sir, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this wonderful discussion and be able to share with you some of my ideas. I rest my submission here. Will be open for any kind of observations on what I said or my other fellow panelists have said. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Rana, for rightly pointing out that the course curriculum, design of the course curriculum, skill-based design of the course curriculum, and the right evaluation. Actually, in fact, if you see the entire NEP 20, it does not speak about the evaluation process. This is the very, very right point which we have pointed out. When I was attending all the 3 meetings of the vice chancellors, when the policy was being discussed at different levels, I had also pointed out, and my other colleagues had also pointed out, that the evaluation process of the students, it has not been rightly addressed in the NEP 2020, and it has been left to the vice chancellors to decide the mode of the evaluation, mode of the assessment, and the quality of the assessment and evaluation. So the greater responsibility has been left on the vice chancellors and the examiners and the teachers, on us, the clinicians, that we have to bring the quality into the system. So you have very rightly pointed out that the course curriculum design. So one very important question here comes. Would you like to recommend, Professor Rana, that in the board of studies there should be members from the industries?
Sir, I would say, I said it very clearly and I'm saying it very loudly. There has to be, if not 50-50% combination of academics and industry in any and every academic body, starting with board of studies and then going to academic council, then going to board of management. I would strongly recommend. I have done it in JKLU, where I had the opportunity of being there for 2 terms. All the academic bodies, boards, advisories have 50-50.
I know that. So Shobhit University, Gango and the Meerut and the JNU, we all are having the industry experts. Professor P.H. Bisin is also working in both the capacities. The second very important point, Professor Rana, you have pointed out that the skill orientation program should be from the very beginning. Although Mr. Manu said was of the opinion that in the last semester, yes.
No, I'll give an example. I think
that we should take
Amarji, I will just
one full semester at the last.
What I would suggest is, Amar sir, just to respond to your observation, what I said, I'm a teacher in communication myself, right? So it was hard for me to convince at IIM Lucknow that our boys and girls need to be given inputs on communication. Right? It was hard. But that is the start, that is the stage I started there. And there are 6 courses now that are taught in communication to IIM graduates. You understand what I say, IIM graduates? So all I am saying is, a skill set and competency of that kind, initial seeds, as he also said, Manu said, catch them young. So just when you look at a student who has entered a university, give him basic inputs and let him build on those skill set competencies over the years. I can't teach him a course on communication and take it for granted that he has learned communication for his life. That doesn't happen. So similarly, other skill sets, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, all of these skill sets need to be, time and again, honed upon with these individuals, then it will give the desired result. I would again go back.
No, I think that we should invite Amit.
When he said catch them young, I would say why to wait for university level? Let that be happening at school and college level. Let it happen that level. Then only we will be able to produce. All right, sorry.
So it's fine, Mr. Amit. Now I would like to listen your very, very specific points that with this natural industry, natural pharmaceutical, various products, because this is one of the highly intensive research-based industry. Every year the product is outdated. every 6 months, I think the product is outdated. And you are in a research intensive industry, in the natural products and all these things. So how you visualize that, how the industries and the universities, they can collaborate with each other for the betterment of the both the stakeholders. Mr. Amit, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me here. And just a short intro. I am a CEO of Nectar Life Sciences Limited. We are close to 2,000 crore company based in Chandigarh. So we are one of the largest antibiotic manufacturers in the world. So we are supplying to a whole lot of companies across the world, exporting to around 70 countries. So that's a brief thing. So coming on this topic, I feel in pharma industry, we are, one of the big beneficiary of industry and academia collaboration. And I'll explain you how. If you look at academia and industry, they are the two important pillars of economy, any economy in the world. A robust collaboration between the two will augur well for the developing economy like ours, enabling innovation, growth in education system, and producing an employment-ready workforce, which my fellow panelists have already mentioned. So that collaboration can create a wonderful opportunity for industry to have people who will just walk into the job and hitting the ground running. And at the same time, education system will become so progressive that whatever they are producing is employable. So one of the points which Professor Anna have just mentioned. So if we look at that, and so looking at the purpose of this interaction or this industry academia collaboration, I think what we need to do is this interface need to bring industry's need and expectation and academic aspiration. Because as per my understanding, academia collaborating with industry can be a multiplier effect to scale up projects, new products, and new compounds. And if we have seen, India is fast becoming capital of startups, and 100 unicorns we just hit, which is a big number. If we look at globally, I think after US and Israel. So that has come because of a lot of incubation happening in IITs and universities like yours. So that, so industry, looking at industry academia collaboration, we have seen a lot of benefit coming out of it. Let's say in agriculture, we have seen how agriculture universities across the country have brought in new varieties of seed, new varieties of fertilizers, soil testing. We have seen how in other countries, let's talk about US, most of your $1 trillion or $500 billion valuation companies have come out of the universities, whether it's Google, Facebook, YouTube, Yahoo, Microsoft. I can name thousands. Even in India, if you look at industry and one very big example, COVID. When COVID came in, before any company could bring in anything, it was university, Oxford University, collaborating with AstraZeneca, created a COVID vaccine, which we got as a Covishield in India. So that came from a collaboration between university and industry. At the same time, in pharma, we are big beneficiary of this collaboration, because what we see is a lot of preclinical data studies are done in university, which helps us a lot. A lot of research which is happening at a raw data level is helping industry a lot, which as of now is not utilized by industry because universities are not sharing. They are not sharing. That's the problem, I think, which we can look at and solve it very fast, because universities are doing a lot of compound, lot of research, but they are not sharing it in open platform with the industry. Industry is not even aware. At some time, it looks like when industry comes up with some innovation, and there will be 10 universities who will come and say, oh, we were already working on this. So that, I think there is a gap. If we can collaborate and that gap is taken care of, a lot of resources from industry can be saved. Other thing, what I see is that, early stage drug discovery. kind of administration. For example, if as of now we are giving something as an injection, university can, industry may be very happy that we have injection which is working very well in the patient, everything is fine, but university can take another project. They can start converting that injection into a tablet, which is easy to dispense, easy to transport, will cost lesser, it will help. So in the another example, the collaboration of, particularly in pharma, I will stick to that. That is my field. We have seen in COVID time, or without COVID also, all the mass producing and home healthcare has come from a collaboration between industry and academia. Like if you look at glucometer, earlier, if you wanted to check your sugar levels, you had to go to a lab, give a blood sample. Now you can do it at home. You know that glucometer, the small device which came very cheaper, it came from a university in Europe, in Sweden, and then it was given to Johnson and Johnson, and they started making glucometers, and Abbott and all these people. Then the patch, the glucometer patch is coming now. So these kind of collaboration are happening. If I look at the data, I think industry is contributing close to $600 billion to the universities in terms of grants in a country like US. Wherever in China, it is around 500 billion. And I see all the new biotech products coming from universities now. I am not seeing any companies bringing a new product in biotech. It is wherever, if you look at, you are all academicians and you know better than me, if you look at small countries or small part of UK, Scotland or Ireland, they are all doing biotech research. If you look at University of Shanghai or in Beijing, they are all doing biotech, and that all is funded by industry, and they are getting the benefit of getting the product. So and another thing which we find, and I feel there's a big scope of collaboration here, is every industry in the world is becoming now regulated. There is a regulation on everything. Even today, if I have to sell any, even a pen, the government of India says that there should be certain sticker, it should have a consumer health helpline number, the logo should be this big, the MRP should be this big, everything is being regulated. So, we can have a collaboration. And today, if I look at particularly pharmaceutical, when we have to export, I'm exporting to 70 countries. That means I have to register my product in 70 countries. To register those products, I have to give them certain data, certain filing, which is what we call as drug master file or a dossier. And we are awfully short on scientific acumen, people who can write those documents, create that data within our organization and put it in the proper format as required by those companies. So if we look at that, that can be another field of collaboration where students, because they are good in studies, they have good grasp, they are referring to books, they can be provided data by industry and they can write a very good dossier, and that regulatory affairs department of the industry, which is lagging today in India, can be taken care of. And this is going to be a big, another thing which I feel in industry and academia can do is environment, health and safety. Everything is becoming now, we are looking at climate change, there are a lot of agreements going on. So that is another field where we can look at possibilities. And I think till now, industry and academia has created a lot of good products. The startup culture in India has been started because of the incubation happening in universities and colleges. So that's have created value. Only thing is we need to scale it up. There are certain gaps, and but we are on the right path. And now government coming in, giving a vision on NEP 2020, that really helps in taking this matter further. And I'm very hopeful that we will have a lot of benefit. Just small example is, we all have used rickshaw, cycle rickshaw sometime in our life. It was very bulky, very difficult to draw by a man. And now somebody in IIT worked on that, and they have reduced the weight of that rickshaw to almost 1/3. That is the research which has come to industry. Another research is all your electrical vehicles coming out of the academia only. You know, even e-rickshaws, wherever you see, it has not come from industry. So there has been a collaboration, but probably India is lacking, because if I look at the industry academia collaboration in Europe, we are looking at a fund flow of close to $400 billion. In US, it is around close to a trillion. And in China, fast catching up with 500 billion. I think in India, we will not be more than 20 billion or so. But that's something which we need to look at. And I see a little bit gaps, but I'm very hopeful that these kind of interactions, these kind of sessions as you are conducting will really help bring both the sides together. And we will see a lot of value. But yes, we see a lot of value coming in pharma, because we will be happy to have this process even better, because we have seen a lot of advantages. We have seen Ebola vaccine coming out of university. We have seen COVID vaccine coming out of this thing. We have seen more than 1,000 compounds for pharmaceutical coming out of universities, although not in India, but I think we are on the right track. With that, I will finish my arguments. Thank you.
Mr. Thank you very much. You have very rightly pointed out what I have visualized, that the university not sharing their achievements. This is the one of the biggest challenge or biggest gap between the industries and the universities. Yes, I do agree. Last time I was in one of the conference, international conference, and Dr. Kurmeen Malik, who is the commissioner in the Ministry of the Animal Husbandry, and he has also pointed out, and he has given me certain examples, that many of the solutions, they are lying in the industries, in the universities. The problems what are being faced by the industries, for that the solutions are lying in the industries, in the universities, and these solutions have been kept locked by the professors, and they are not disclosing it. So there should be some sort of system, or under the NEP 2020. This is the one of the very great recommendation, but we should make from this platform, that the university should share their achievements through some public platform, public domain, so that it should be accessible to the local and the national industries. And the second very important point, what we have pointed out, what I visualize, that why the industries are not coming forward for funding the projects in the universities. You know that there are several Indian universities, IITs, or the universities like Shobhit University, JNU, IIMT, and the Subharti, and the CCS, many universities which are having the vast resources and the vast manpower, and the good number of the manpower. Why we people are not getting the funding, the resources with the industries? One quick your opinion, that why there is lagging, that the US is giving $600 billion, and China $500 billion, and India, you pointed out 20 billion, but I still doubt that even $20 billion. It may be even less. There are only few industries which are interacting only with the IITs, only with the some university. Why they are not coming to the state university, or with the state university which are having the vast resources? If you go to the IITs, you will find that the one equipment, multiple copies of that equipment are lying there, and the main power, it is mainly in the state universities.
Just to point you here, why we are lagging is because universities are approaching industry only for placement. They are approaching industry only for sponsorship for some program of theirs. They never go to any industry and say, let us work together, give us some challenges, we will do research for you. Nobody goes there. So that's where industry is not paying you. You are asking money for sponsorship, industry is giving you. You are asking for placement, industry is giving you. So industry is giving whatever universities are asking. If you will not ask, nobody will give you.
Thanks, Amit. You have very rightly pointed out that many times we are hesitating. I would like to attract the attention of the state universities and the other universities, that we should come forward. We should put the proposal to the industry. We should discuss with the industries, not only for the placement, but we should rightly interact with them for the research orientation, for the research interaction. We should act as a synergistic, because there are several things, as Amit pointed out, that they need sometimes for the labeling, they need sometimes survey, they need sometimes quality testing, they need sometimes many of the things which can be easily done and competently and exactly and rightly can be done by the students of the universities. So thank you, Mr. Amit, for pointing out the rightly, and that can be the one of the recommendations from this platform to the government and to the Ministry of Education, that we should ask the Indian universities to put the proposals to the industries, and there should be certainly something will come out, and we will Shobhit University, I'm sure that we will take a lead, and the IIMT and the JNU and some other universities which are associated, and they all will take the lead and will come forward for the submission of the proposals.
So just adding on one point here, it is very easy to start because, let's start with the PhD program. So PhD is basically a research, right? So kind of a research. So if you can even publish that to the industry or in your website that we are going to conduct these kind of PhDs this year, so industry will know that you are working on these things. It can be anything. So it is very easy. It does not require a lot of reach out. If there can be a collective, a kind of website where all the industries can become partners, or under UGC or something, and put that this is the research they are conducting, and if I go to that resource, I will know that you are working on chemistry. I will come back to you.
Yes,
that's an idea.
That's a very good suggestion, and I think that I'm happy to announce from this platform right now that, because I am looking after as the Dean Research, so within a week I will announce all the research projects, all the research scholars who are doing the research, their topics, I will put on the website. I will make a start from the Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology. And this is a very good suggestion, that once the public knows that on what project we are working, then the people may also contact us. That is a wonderful idea. Thank you, Mr. Amit. So now I would like to invite Professor Jayanand. You are having the exposure of the biomedical industry and the institute, AIMS, JNU, Delhi, and several private universities, central universities, and all this. So, what is frank discussion?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Your opinion.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon, you all. I'm Dr. Jayanand. Just joined as Vice Chancellor after taking the leave of 5 years. The same organization, Shobhit University. Yeah, I do agree with Mr. Amit Chadha. He has mentioned that we have the gap between the industry and academia, and we should go for making some kind of policy for the collaboration. That should be very clear. Very good. That is commendable suggestion, sir. NEP has come just recently, 2 years back, but we are working, bridging the industry and the academia since long back. It is not new one. We are working for this, and we have been trying to bridge the gap. In fact, this organization, Shobhit University, made the regulations. It was not in other institutions at that point of time, to have the industry expert in the mandatory member of the BOS from the industry side. As well as this organization has made the compulsion of 1 semester industry training on live projects. That is there. Still, I do feel that somewhere we are not connected. That is why NEP might have sensed this area, and they have made some suggestions on the policy, new education policy. Perfect. But I have been handled a number of organizations. If you see the implementation part, still we do not aware of as Mr. Amit said, that and academicians should display, or institutions should display the industry related research area, so that the PhD coming out of that they can take the issues of industry. That is perfect. But what are the concerns of the industry that should be conveyed to the institution? I think the industry related concerns should be addressed in the academia, so that academicians or the research scholars should take the challenge to go for the solution of any project, a problem. If you see, still we are working, we are discussing about the research, but still we are working in isolation. The research cannot be done in isolation. If any organization, be it Shobhit University, IMT, JNU, any organization, all of them are working in isolation. And in private organization or any government organization, one institution cannot have all kind of infrastructure, hands-on facility for the research. That is truth. Even the government cannot, even in the IITs, one organization cannot have all kinds of hands-on skill or new trend instruments. So what solution can be made? I would suggest through this panel that can we have some kind of consortium, that whatever the facility means, if we have certain good facilities in this organization, another organization is having certain another facilities, can we make the consortium of high-end instruments or research facilities, so that our researchers can get benefited out of the pool infrastructure? Because what we are doing today, if the researchers are coming from the other organization, we generally try to avoid. That is the tendency of, because number of things are there, our own students are working in the instruments. So we make some kind of hurdle that they should not work in this organization or another organization. Rather, we should have some kind of consortium, not only in the academia only, in the R&D of the industry also. Whatever the R&D facilities in the industry, lying in the industry, that should be the part of the consortium. So that if we are making any proposal of the research or synopsis for the research in the area of industry concerned, they should, or the student or the supervisor should be knowing that all the facilities are available. There is no limitation of the infrastructure, because industry is putting their R&D facilities. Other organizations are also putting in their R&D facilities. So this kind of facility should be there. I would request Honorable Dean to make some kind of suggestions out of this panel discussion, so that we can request all the universities and academia to make some kind of consortium that is there. As Dr. Raina said, the input and implementation, that is the process, and outcome should be there in the curriculum. Means whatever the skill sets are required in the industry, that should be implemented in the curriculum. That is true. We can make it. But these are just the set skills which is very much required by the industry. We are talking about the research. Research is the problems which has not been solved earlier. That solution has to be made. So new things, new requirements should come from the industry, and the academia should solve it, and it should be implemented in the industry, so that problem of society should be solved out. With this, I would congratulate Honorable Dean Sir, Professor Amar Garg, for having very wonderful webinar, and God bless you. And it is very good to have the luminary speakers Professor Deepa ma'am, thank you for joining us. And all the preliminary speakers, those who have joined. I'm Dr. Jayanand from this organization. Welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Jayanand. You have rightly pointed out that the industries should also come out and discuss with the universities that what the problems they are facing, so that we can find out the solutions. So there should be active interaction between the industries and the universities. So I think that we can make a one suggestion that there should be a active interactive programs monthly, or at least a monthly, between the universities and the industries. Actually, when I was in Liverpool in 93, 94 as a Commonwealth Academy Staff Fellow, then my professor first asked me that, okay, you go and visit the paper industry, stay there for a week, discuss the problems of the industry, particularly that how they are disposing these effluents and how this can be reduced. So I stayed there in the paper industry for 1 week, and after getting the complete insight of their problems, then we tried to find out a solution that if the enzymic bio-bleach process can be introduced, then the chlorine consumption can be reduced. So this is a very good idea that the industry and the universities, the professors, they should join together. They should sit together. They should sit together. They should share their problems and the solutions together. And they should then only the something will come out. We have to become Atmanirbhar, and the startups we have to do something very positive. So thank you, Professor, for pointing out this thing. So now I would like to request Mr. Supreet Nagarjun. He is the head of the education, and he is having the vast experience of the computer science industry. You know that without the computer, you cannot think of survival on this day in the universities. Even if you see the 5-year-old child, he starts using the computer. He starts using the computer skills, and the person like me who was not born in the computer age, and who retired in the computer age, and still then I was forced to learn the computer skills. So the software, computer skills, cyber is so much thing. Now I am seeing that without the computer you cannot even think. Now this is the age of the computer, that we are sitting here from the far off places and we are discussing this issue. This is the Mr. Supreet, what is your opinion that how the industry and the university, they can collaborate for the betterment of the country and a better research, and for the synergistic action of the both?
First and foremost thing, let me thank you, Professor Amar Garg, Shobhit University, and the entire organizing team to have me here. It's wonderful to hear from all of you on a very interesting topic, sometimes controversial, but at the same time, it is in the interest of progress. We take it with a
controversial topic should always be taken. Then when you will discuss the controversy, then the solution will come out.
Absolutely. So I firmly believe that industry and academia are not different in terms of their behavioral patterns. While the grass looks greener on the other side, it's equally bald, right? So I'll start with that. There are holes on both the sides, but it's important for us to understand what can we learn, what can we stop, what can we continue, and what can we sustain as an area. So in my last 2 decades of my journey in corporate world, and some amount of journey in academia as board member of few of the state education ministries and also universities, one of the things that I've been constantly propagating, is learning is not a spectator sport, right? It's a two-way street. It's just like the way we say action and reaction are equal and opposite. The art of disseminating knowledge has got everything to do with how you implement these three fundamental skills as an academic leader and as an academic professional. And the same applies to industry. And this is something that I've followed all my life. The point one is to do with reach. right? Do you, as a academic professional, as a researcher or a quasi researcher, do you have the necessary reach that it takes to get you the necessary impact? The second point is to do with the frequency, because the standardization is the name of the game. If you need to look at building certain best practices out, making sure that there is replication of certain practices that you've been doing, and last but not the least is the yield, right? The proof is in the pudding. Unless and until we have yield in place, people would not appreciate it, whether you are in academia or in industry as an area. So the key three takeaways that I'd like to focus on is reach, frequency, and yield. Whether it is academic delivery and excellence, or whether it is research delivery and excellence as an area. The second point of it is the fact the way in which how we deliver certain things, whether it is academics or whether it is an approach towards the research area, or even for that matter with respect to nurturing and building entrepreneurial talent within our institutions or organizations as an area. Because all three have one common thread: disruption and innovation, right? All three of them have got one common thread, which is disruption and innovation. Look at it in whichever angle, in multiple lens, it boils down to that thing, right? And the how part of it has got a lot of emphasis on the way in which what I coin as two numbers, which is 80-20, right? And this is something that we use frequently in business, which is 80% of your success comes from 20% of efforts. But if I were to flip it around in an academic world, what works is that 80% of your students, if they start doing projects, or 80% of the time that they spend on projects or practical oriented knowledge, or as an academic leader, if you're imparting it in a more problem solving in a practical oriented way, you will have tremendous success rather than spending 80% on theoretical in nature. And that drives or that kindles the brain. Psychologically also, it has been proven that the more the problems you throw at people, the better they learn from their mistakes, and then the stop continue happens. And the same thing works for research. When these things happen in a consistent pattern, naturally institutions, students, the entire fraternity, because you need to look at this as a unit. When an industry looks at a project to be given out, or anybody who's looking at an investment, a venture capitalist or a potential seed fund specialist, the first thing that they look at is, do you have consistency in the way in which you're building your reach, your frequency, and your yield, right? Do you have consistency? Can I bet on you when I'm giving you an assignment as an area, right? So if these three things fall in place, then I think that is I don't think it's a magical thing, and showcasing your talent becomes a lot more easier. Attracting people who want to get things done from you is more of a pull mechanism rather than a push mechanism that you're trying to do right now, right? So the next aspect of it, is the how part of it. How do you go about doing it? I mean, I think I heard quite many of you, sharing various aspects of how do you want to go about it and whose responsibility is what, right? See, we are a young country, right? And we learn more on a personalized basis rather than trying things in a very formalized set parameters of 4 walls or maybe a box as an area. So the name of the game is disruptive education or creative education, so to speak. And it is important for us to analyze that the industry is not just one-dimensional, it is multi-dimensional in nature. And there are many, many new industries that have erupted up, right? If I were to just take an example of the industry that I represent, information technology and communications, it was the fastest growing industry even when the whole world was shut down and crying for help for pandemic, right? Unfortunate but true. If I were to double click on the specific subsegment of the industry that I represent, which is the creative technologies, grew the highest because of the utility of web and web technologies and internet and digital becoming the first rather than anything else. The physical world took a back seat. The digital world took the front seat. And we, the entire industry of digital grew in excess of 40%. How many of the universities launched programs? Forget programs, even made an attempt to understand what is happening in the digital industry. in the last 24 to 48 months as an area, right? So these are areas for you to ponder upon, right? That is something that, I would urge. It is not like, who came first, shook hands, and then, who got the best research project, nor, who got the highest salaried job in Adobe or Microsoft or any other place. It doesn't really matter, honestly. What matters the most is how many of you are creating consistently people who can think that I can solve problems which touch the lowest common denominator in the society at scale, at least million, Indians as a scale, if I were to put that as a scale, then automatically I think whether it is pharma, whether it is, edtech companies, whether it is, product companies, whether it is, government or the GovTech, there are a lot of government oriented, problems that the government is also trying to solve through SPVs and stuff like that. Everybody would, look at, you as a magnet. And I'll tell you why. Because the problem is compounded in the talent world today, right? Just to give you an example of our own industry, there are roughly about 10 lakh plus open positions in the digital and the creative space. Approximately 10,000, is the qualified applicants who can even apply for it. Why is this disparity? You may come back and say, hey, you should have come to us and you should have taught, in our classrooms and we could have taken students. But the way in which we look at it is completely different. What is your ability to reach 10 million students? What is your ability to look at, replicating frequency of success with these students at scale? What is your ability to look at, yield that you can generate at scale as an area? If not 10 million, can you do at least, 100,000? So these are areas that, there needs to be deliberations upon the how part of it very frequently, and probably showcase that, yes, we can personalize as a university. Why don't you come test, what you feel is your expectations across? Then we can rejig and see, what works, what doesn't work, how can we, up the scale, up the bar as an area, and reach the ulterior goal of solving problems both for society and business, and thereby improving the economy. If this is the pitch that, most of us can take jointly, then I think, we can solve problems, not just one or two or three, but at scale. Just to give you an example, and Adobe has been at forefront of many of these things. Photoshop was delivered after a strong research partnership with one of the top universities in the world many, many years ago. It was not done in Adobe Labs standalone, but it was done as a joint partnership. But after the university exhibited that they can do these 3 pointers that we are referring to. And last but not the least, I'd like to emphasize on one important point. Mobile first country, and a young country like Adobe today, in India specifically, and many organizations like us are looking at one specific area. One is, how do you measure impact? Impact measurement is not just a function of how many students you place. Impact measurement is not just a factor of, how many research papers that you publish, but in terms of how many of your, students or, to be professionals and the research is impacting the, real life problems across. How many of them are industrialized in nature? Please talk more about that. And most important than anything, marketing is not a bad term. Please showcase your talent. We as industry do not know who is capable of what in your universities. That's a reality. And forget us, you students even don't know who is a specialist in your own universities, right? That's a reality. There's no point in hiding your credentials to yourselves and putting it up on your own websites. Please showcase it, teach, showcase what do you mean by nanotechnologies? Please showcase what is the research that's happening outside, and challenge, the general crowd around you, at least within your own 100 kilometers area, saying that this is the problem I'm trying to solve. This is the solution I've got. Do you have a better idea? Right. So with that, one of the important areas that I'd like to re-emphasize is do an outreach. Showcase your talent. Please showcase your student talent. Unless and until I know what you have, how am I going to even outreach? Right. And if there is a deficit, after I understand that this is what you have as a talent, only then I can propose some corrective measures that can be done to move you from point A to point B, or maybe X to X square as an area, and then assimilate various pointers that you need to look at. I'll just pause at that. If there are any other points, I'm more than happy to jump in, but there are multiple other vast areas. NEP 2020 talking about that creativity as an area has been, nailed at least 15, 16 times in the document. I like to emphasize only on one point on NEP 2020, which is be creative, not just in your thought process, implement creativity, the way in which you approach problems. Not all 5 fingers in your classroom are of the same size and shape. They are of different, size and shapes. So personalization in your teaching delivery and research mechanisms are the key to success in the classroom, because you are not the torch bearers for the future. The students are. The responsibility of the university is to create more and more creative torch bearers and innovators in the outside world. That's one part of it. Second part of it is technology today itself is creative, extremely creative in nature. It's adapt or die. It's the same for us. It's the same for you. So, whether it is curriculum being inflexible, industry doesn't wait for your curriculum to be, creative enough or flexible enough. Industry moves at a particular pace. Industry doesn't really care whether the student is just degree oriented, UG, PG, or a PhD. All they care about is, are they really qualified enough, fit enough, mentally tough enough to handle challenges, raise to the standards and deliver. And not just deliver with a consistent pattern, right? With this, if you are able to fit into the scheme of things, naturally collaborations would happen, naturally research options would open up. Pitch for it. Don't be hesitant to showcase your talent. And it's equally a rat race. How much it is in the industry, it will be for the academics. So with all that, industry is definitely open. As a fellow member of the industry, one thing I'd like to highlight to you is the problems are much more compounded in industry. The only thing is the pace at which things are running. You need to just align yourself to that, and rest of the things will be given. Thank you so much. Professor Garg, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shobhit. You have very rightly pointed out the marketing of the students, marketing of the university. But unless we market, now this is the time showcase. Unless we tell that what we are doing, the others, how the people will know. So that is the marketing of the students, marketing of the skills, marketing of the specialization, what we are doing. That is very important. And you have very rightly pointed out that 80% of the course curriculum should be practical based. And now if you see the Western universities, countries, you will find that 60 to 70% of the course curriculum is based on the project. And the NEP 2020 is also saying that there should be a project-based learning. So the only thing is that we have to come out of the classrooms. We have not to stick to the classroom teaching. We have to come out to the field. We have to interact with the industries. And another very important point, what you have raised, that the social impact. Our university has been emphasizing on this, that is scientific impact journal 1.2, 1.7 or 13, 15, 16. This is not going to make any impact. Many times you will find that the scientist is sitting behind you or next door to you, and he has published 400 papers, but nothing is the social impact. So we should do the research, what is having the social impact, what is relevant. Now the basic research, it has gone, the times have gone. You will see that NRF is also funding only those which are the applied research. Industry will also fund only those projects which are the applied research. So the applied research and the social impact factor, the marketing, and the 80%, it will be too much initially for the Indian universities. We should gradually shift. We should go to 40%, 60%. And the Shobhit University, I'm happy to tell you that we have already integrated 60% of our course curriculum, which is practical based. Even in the art subject, even in the management subject, even in the all the subjects, minimum 60%. In subjects like biomedical engineering, in the subjects like management, it is 70 to 80% of the course curriculum. I know that even in the IIMT, they are also having the wonderful system what they have started. So thank you, Mr. Shobhit, and it will be nice.
I wanted to add in. Just want to add in a couple of points which are probably missed. One is on the capacity build part of it. And one of the suggestions that I'd like to highlight upon is, use technology as a super express highway, more to increase your capacity build. Today what I'm observing is also that, 1:7, 1:8 is what is the typical, researcher to be PhD ratio as an area. There's a necessity for you to augment that. for a young country where the aspirational levels are increasing day by day, unless and until you have researchers coming in large numbers, what the challenge that as an industry leader I like to throw is, how can you look at improving it to 1:25, 1:30 in terms of your PhD outputs? That's the first point. The second point, which I'd like to highlight upon is bring in the entrepreneurial stint. What you're seeing as a new learning curve. Example, many of you would have seen, how a small TV show, which is now massive, Shark Tank, has changed the, overall map of entrepreneurship in the way in which, you need to approach problem solving in terms of your own business setups. So I'd urge everybody on the academic world to look at entrepreneurial aspects embedded in your, teaching methodologies, and encourage students to experiment. Failure is not a bad word. Failure is fine. It's absolutely okay to fail. It's absolutely okay to drop out of your university to check out what does the world look like in the entrepreneurial space. That is when you're kindling the aspect of research, innovation, and bringing in new areas of experimentation in place.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I have been saying many times that education without knowledge and knowledge without experience are meaningless. So that is why the experience and the knowledge and the education, all three things go together. Similarly, the industries and the universities, they go together, and if they both work together, then we can build a very strong nation. So now I am coming to Professor Deepa. She is a wonderful administrator and a very good academician. And now I would request Professor Deepa that what is your opinion particularly about that, how the private universities should approach, and how the private universities should collaborate with the industries, and how they can facilitate, because many times that the most of the funds of the state universities or the government or this 80% of the grant or 80% of the GDP or the 80% of the budget, it goes to the central and the state universities, and private universities are lacking. So how you will visualize that, how we can focus to strengthen the private, while you will find that more than 60 to 70% of the education is now being provided by the private universities. So Professor Deepa, please. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir. My greetings to all the dignitaries present on the platform. And it's a very nice opportunity to share the views, and I appreciate the efforts of Professor Garg to bring all the eminent personalities of the industries and the academics on the same platform to share the views and to explore the possibilities of the mutual collaborations. So the NEP has bring a change in the pedagogy from conventional to more practical training and the real-time based practical problem solutions. It has given the flexibility to the students to explore their interest right from the initiation of their higher education. Like in NEP, the curriculum or the courses are categorized into the different categories, and which are more into the electives than the core subjects. And the electives, they are giving the opportunities to the students to explore and to expand their dimensions of learning. The concept of multidisciplinary and the interdisciplinary, it has introduced by NEP 2020, and this has opened the field of joint and collaborative research. As Professor Jayanand has just said, that there is the need of the formation of some sort of consortium where we can extend the research facilities to each other. So like by signing the MOUs between different universities, we can have the better use of the various research facilities in which the different institutions or the different universities, they have their expertise, and we can come out with some remarkable joint and the collaborative research. Further, the inclusion of the research project in the form of industrial training, internship, survey, field training, this had made the Association of Industry and the Higher Education Institution a mandate. So talking very precisely, as per NEP, there are the 3 points where the industry and the higher education institute is required to be interfaced. The first one is the industrial training and the internship, as it has become the mandatory or the integral part of the curriculum as per NEP. So we should have some provision that the industry, it should take the students from the different higher education institute and depute them on some real time problems, so that they can learn the industrial skills, they can learn what is going on in the real time and what is there in the corporate world, that how the problems related to the the practical problems they are coming, and how their solution is being made. And the second is the skill development courses, which are to be based on the industry demand training programs. Like the Google has just they have started, I think 3 or 4 years back, the cloud computing and the Android development fundamental trainings, in which they have associated the number of industries with us. This is a CSR from their side. So, in these training programs, they are extending the real-time training to the students of different educational institutions. And then after that, they have made the provision, they have given some privilege to those students when they are coming to the Google for the recruitment purpose. The third one, which is very important, is the real-time problem statement from the industry based on the different demanding areas like artificial intelligence, machine learning, the use of artificial intelligence and the drone in agriculture, which is very recent. Then drug design, drug delivery, robotics, data mining, big data, IoT. There are the several ongoing fields where the real-time industry problems are existing. So we should have the provision that these industry problems, they should come to the higher education institutions, whereby conducting the ideathons, hackathons, we can call the possible solutions and the innovative solutions from the side of the students. So by identifying the best possible solution, we can promote those ideas further for the incubation, further for conversion into the prototype of the different technology readiness level. As the state as well as the central government has made mandate that the higher education institution, they should have the business incubator developed with them. And the purpose of this business incubator is to convert the idea into the technology readiness, some product which can be sent, which can be transferred to the industry in the form of a technology, and there it can be manufactured, it can be marketed or the commercialized. So there is a need to strengthen the idea of the business incubator, where we can give wings to the innovative ideas of the students. Like, we are getting the real time problems from the industry, we are exploring those problems in between the students in the form of hackathons, in the form of ideathons, as the state and the central government is mainly doing this. And then we can invite the best possible solutions from their side, and we can identify the best possible solution. We can provide the facilities during the incubation period, so that that idea can be converted into the prototype, viable prototype. Then after going into the joint IPR, we can transfer that technology to the industry for the further processing. So we have to explore the ways in which we can come, like we means the industry and the higher education institution, we can come on the same platform for the execution purpose. Moreover, as Professor Garg has just said, that we have the constraint of funding also in the private organization. But after this National Innovation and Startup Policy 2019, which was particularly made for the students and the faculty members of the higher education institution, who are intended to convert their some innovative ideas into the startups. So we have to keep the provision of at least 1% of the total budget as a seed fund to promote all these activities. So I feel that this panel discussion, it will be helpful to us in exploring the ways where the different higher education institutions and the various industries, they form a joint portal where the communication between us will become more progressive, and we can come to the conclusion and we can make this interface a really purposeful. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Deepa. You have very rightly pointed out the technology incubation centers, business incubation centers. That right from the very beginning, the students should be given the training. They should be exposed to the entrepreneurship. They should be exposed to the business ideas. And yes, unless we know the problems of the industry, how can we find out the solution? So the interaction between the industries and the universities is one of the things. And another very important point you have pointed out, that the budget of the university should also be focused for that particular thing. The skill development programs that almost every university is putting it. The technology, the Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology also having one of the TBI, which was brought by Professor Jayanand when he was earlier here, and we have been able to bring out the 3 different new technologies which are industry relevant. And there's a joint IPR. Yes, that is because unless there is a IPR rights and all these things, the universities and the industries, they cannot collaborate. So there should be some sort of MOU. So thank you very much, Professor Deepa. Now I would like to request Professor Ranjit Singh. Professor Ranjit Singh is heading one of the very big university in the rural area, and the problems of the rural area and the urban area universities are entirely different. But he is having the one very important advantage that his university is located in the Saharanpur, which is the very industrially rich area. So, Professor Ranjit Singh, what is your input that the rural university and the rural dominated area of the industry, how you can collaborate? Because you can be one of the very exemplary university and exemplary system of the collaboration, which is having the vast number of the industries in the Saharanpur area and a vast human power, and at the same time some major problems with the rural industry. Yes, Professor Ranjit Singh, what is your?
Thank you very much, sir. After listening to all the eminent panelists, I don't think much is left for me to speak, but yes, there are certain points. Ours is a university in rural area, but it is all with modern facilities and modern thoughts. And we are pursuing useful research here as well. I listened to all the eminent panelists very, sincerely and carefully, and specifically to mention what Amit ji has said from Nectar Biosciences, because that is my area of interest. Basically, if I speak of NEP 2020 and the provisions therein, what are the role of the provisions in boosting the research? Yes, NEP 2020 has many provisions where the research boosting will be taking place in coming time. I'm not saying that research is not there. Research is there. Universities are doing wonderfully well in all kind of research, particularly with the PhD research scholars. And I don't agree with the one point that we are not sharing our data. You know that while somebody do PhD, he or she has to publish all the data, and that data is available for whole the humanity. Yes, sharing with industry is not there in specific. So there is a kind of communication gap. I think if we want to do something useful as far as the industrial research is concerned, we need to come closer to each other, that is the industry and academia, to collaborate. We have to find out the gaps, and then we have to bridge those gaps. And I think the offer given by Amit ji is really wonderful, and we will definitely explore that. What I feel, if we want to do research, which is we call utility-based research or useful research, and what is provisioned in NEP, where they are talking about multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary research and translational research. Definitely, we need to come closer to each other, not industry and academia only, but within the academic institution. We have to take care of those silos, those compartments, and to make it a multidisciplinary approach at what Professor Janand has mentioned in his speech. Secondly, we need to develop a kind of trust between industry and academia so that industry is free to give and share their problems, maybe smaller, maybe bigger, with academia, and the team at academic institution, they work with the available facilities for the solution of those problems. But yes, with that, what we need is we have to provide all conducive atmosphere in the university where we need some dedicated faculty meant for the research. One thing, we have to give time to the faculty for research, and at the same time, we need to provide facilities, especially the equipments which are identified, which are quantified, so that the results are reliable. That is the second thing. So we need to develop exclusive research teams at university level, which keep in continuous touch with the industry, take input from the industry, and work for them for their problems. And it will be definitely be some useful collaboration where funds will be generated. Then we need to train our faculty, training and skilling of faculty, so that the kind of research industry requires from us is clear to them. And we need to incentivize, we have to put some incentives for the faculty whenever they do some wonderful research, because in academia, the research is for sake of learning, where we work for some degree, we publish it, and then learn something new. And in industry, they want immediate impact. What was very nicely mentioned by one of the speakers, that what we need is research which have impact on the society, which actually goes to society and serves the society. And what industry need is, they need research which is worth commercialization. They need planned research or critical investigation, which is aimed at acquisition of new knowledge, skills to develop new products, processes, or services, or to improve the existing one. So we have to understand this research, and we have to make a team at our academic level so that that team could understand what industry wants and take input from industry in formal manner or informal manner, and then work for the industry. That's what I want to say. And in NEP, it is emphasized much more that what we need is collaboration between industry and academia, because if you see the current scenario of research, they say, even WIPO say that research and development in our country, in India, is inadequate and lopsided. And that is due to abysmal performance, that is inadequate involvement of industry and higher education sector. So that involvement we need to increase, and obviously collaboration of industry, academia, along with the government sector. Only then we can do some useful research. And NEP 2020 emphasizes on a research ecosystem under the stewardship of National Research Foundation, where the research will be funded, where the research will be coordinated, monitored, and encouraged. So this is what there in NEP, and what I feel is that if we could change our approach a bit, because we do have research teams, we do have research facilities, we have the manpower, technical manpower. What we need to do is to come closer to the industry, approach the industry as what Amit ji has said, कि जब तक मांगेंगे नहीं तब तक पाएंगे नहीं. So we have to go to them and ask for the things, and they will be definitely be providing. So that is all from my side. Thank you very much for giving me this chance.
Thank you very much, Professor Ranjit Singh, for rightly pointing out that the trust between the industries and the universities. Without the trust, the things cannot move further. And the second very important point, what he has pointed out, that the dedicated faculty.
Garg sir, if you permit me, can I just add on?
Yes, I'm coming. I'm coming on the final round. I'm coming on the final round. So after making the discussions, we will go now quickly that what the findings this panel would like to suggest to the Ministry of Education, to the Ministry of Industries, and to the PMO, and to all those concerned who are the policy makers. So what I have visualized, subject to correction and subject to addition and the modifications by the panelists. The one thing is that the universities should have the members in board of studies from the industries. But one very important thing, maybe 30%, 40%, 50%, and the industries should actively contribute to the enrichment of the curriculum, course curriculum of the universities. They should come out and they should tell that what the problems they face, and those certain type of the project should be developed, which should be developed of the mutual interest. That is, the industry and the universities both should develop the mutual interest project, and these projects should be offered to the students, so the students can offer and they can make some sort of a synergistic action. And the second point, what I have noticed, that there should be at least once there should be a meeting with the industries and the university professors. Maybe that some of the universities in the Western countries, they are having a system that at least once in a year, a professor of the university will go to the industry for at least for 1 week or 15 days and will stay there. And the industry person will also come to the university for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and will stay in the industry and will interact with the faculty, with the students. So that is also, nobody point out that. So maybe that is one of the system that we will have to introduce. We will have to bring. We will have to make a recommendation like that, so that the things can improve. The third point, but that we should frame the research projects of the mutual interest of the industry and the universities, and should submit collaborative projects to the government agencies also. The industry should be a partner, university should be a partner, the government should be a partner. Ultimately, the society will benefit. And for the beneficial and development, another thing very important which I have visualized, that the universities should have the skill orientation program from the very beginning, and at least one semester or one full year, whatever depends, that should be devoted at the industry. So these are the few recommendations based on this panel discussion. Now, this is open for the concluding remarks. So the Professor Bisain, are you there? Professor Bisain, would you like to add something to the concluding remark, that what should be the recommendation from the panel to the government for the effective implementation of the NEP 2020 in the right interest? Professor Rena, yes, you are here. Professor Rena? Professor Rena?
Yes, I have been there all along, listening very patiently to the wonderful discussion that has been happening. I just wanted to say a couple of things, because I don't know, sir is not here, but he, mentioned very, very proactively about collaborating with academic and industry partners formally, not only in the country, but his emphasis and focus was on the international arena. What I would say is, and you must make a recommendation to the government, that yes, reaching out to the globe is okay, a welcome step if we want to internationalize our academic practices, academic standards, right? But we in India also have a very good number of educational institutions of excellence in all areas. So government must encourage, support universities collaborating with their desired partners in the country as well, because there are very many good institutions of excellence in the country, IITs, IIMs, IISc. So if a university gets into a league with some university of that kind, it will be a benefiting proposition for all. So we are talking about internationalization, but let us open, and efforts have already started in that direction. But if there is some move from the government and government circles that they encourage such partnerships, so not only will the universities who need such support come forward, but more than that, the institutions which can offer something will also feel, no, that is their moral duty and obligation to raise the academic and research standards of the country. That's number one. Number two, I was saying, Garg Sahab, if you just tell the government that our boards of studies should have representation from industry, that has been happening in most of the universities, but make a very, very candid observation that all academic bodies could be advisory, could be recommending, could be statutory, all academic bodies governing the academics at the universities or education institutions must have a fair amount of representation from the industry circles in their academic bodies. And the third is, as I said in my opening remark, that this relation of academia industry has to trickle down to the delivery process of academics in terms of curriculum, in terms of delivery, in terms of assessment and evaluation. So all the inputs must be ingrained and integrated with the academic industry interface, because then that will provide the kind of people the industry needs. They won't tell you tomorrow that your products are no good. So these were small little submissions, but I enjoyed thoroughly the interaction of experts in this panel. And thank you once again for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this wonderful.
Thank you. Mr. Supreet, are you there? Mr. Supreet?
Yeah, I'm
Mr.
there.
Amit?
I'm there. Yeah, I'm there.
Yes,
I'm there.
yes. Just one quick comment. But your final recommendations, Mr. Supreet, yes.
Garan Saab, can I leave? I have a meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Rena.
Thank you so much. We'll stay in touch. Thank you so much, all the esteemed panelists.
Yes, Mr. Supreet.
Yeah. So one of the key parameters that I'd like everybody to relook upon, the three words, I'll repeat it again, which is build your reach, increase your frequency, and ensure that there is high yield, because we have a problem of plenty, because we are 1 billion plus population and it is going to grow in that direction. So we have tremendous amount of problems to solve, and I don't think industry alone can do it, nor can academia. So there is an interdependency in nature. The word collaboration should not just be in the reports that we submit, nor on the websites that we talk, but in the true spirit of collaboration. And I think there is a necessity for open-minded, heterogeneous conversations, healthy debates in the interest of progression. The word progression stems from, start, stop, continue, and both the sides needs to adopt it, in a right spirit. And then the last part of it is we need to look at the education, research, and innovation in a much larger contour beyond the realm of what we do within a university, because there are so many of them who are underprivileged, who can't even enter the university system, because that becomes the rock bed of openness, or what we call as equity and access. So I'd urge everybody to take a hard look at this as to how we can achieve, because ultimate goal is progression, sustainability and progression from an overall country, and we will definitely succeed both.
Thank you, Mr. Sumit. Mr. Amit, are you there? Mr. Amit?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
One or two quick points. Quick points. What you say after the discussion? What you would like to make recommendations?
Sir, my recommendation will be that industry and academia should find multiple forums to connect with each other.
Yes,
and it should be very focused. Like if you want to have academic industry interaction on research, it should be a proper program. There should be a calendar that you will be reaching out to pharma. For example, you can go to NASCOM that, okay, we want to address all your members, and this is the facilities we are offering. This is the, kind of research we can do for you, or this is the problem. And we would like to know from you what is the problem you are facing, and we will try to give you some solution from there. Or you can come to Pharmexcel, which is the pharmaceutical council, association. So that way you have to reach out to industry. And second thing is, lot of there is a major problem. What we have been discussing is the students are not industry ready. So one way is, whatever you at your level are doing by preparing them or taking them for industrial training and all those things. One can be that you can start industry-specific programs. For example,
Yes.
you can start program for IT or for pharma, but only for the people who are working in industry. That means you come here, attend some common classes with our existing students, and then also for 1 week. And because their industry people, if I am, let's say, if I am sitting in the class with your for to him, I will become his alumni. I will tell him this is how industry we are, focusing. They can take away something from me. I can take away a lot of idea back. And when I am looking for recruitment, I will automatically say that, oh, I have interacted with this university and these people. They were very good, or we can give them research program. Because when I will be there, I can always look at the facilities you have, and then I can say, okay, why don't we give this research problem to them, and university can help us. And third, and the last thing, I think one of the panelists mentioned that universities have a lot of big instruments which are not available with the industry. For example, there is in science, there is a instrument called NMR. NMR, costs something like 2.5, 3 crores. Not every company in pharmaceutical can have, but that is the testing requirement sometimes required for material going to US or Europe to some other country. And if you go to university and say that, listen, we want to use your NMR and we will pay you, there is such a resistance. They do not want to share anything. They don't want to talk about that. So I think there was a interesting thing that let us tell industry that we have these kind of instruments available. Please come, do research with us, help our students to learn how research is done in industry, do a partial research in university, and take back the data and everything. And I think that will be a major thumbs up for industry academia interaction. So I think that's what my suggestion is.
Yes, Mr. Amit, thank you very much. This is a nice, wonderful suggestion, and that is we will make a recommendation. So, Mr. Manu, are you there? Mr. Manu, I think he is there. So, Professor Janan, your quick.
Yes, sir. Good discussion on the research collaborations and interaction with the academia and industry to bridge the gap for better solution and the better product for the society. That's good. For the academia, industry is a bigger or big stakeholder. Similarly, there should be this kind of feeling in the industry also, that academia is the stakeholder of industry. In the organogram of the university, the industry should be located, because participative management is there. Unless and until we are making our stakeholders, the employer of the students in the organogram, the implementation will not be worked. And similarly, the industry organogram should show that what academia, what universities they have collaborated, and all the institutions, all the universities or IITs should be in their organogram, so that if they find any problem, their partner institutions should help them out. Similarly, if we are finding any problem in the curriculum to make the industry-based curriculum, we can call the industry partners. So in this way, we can make better or employable or industry-ready manpower, as well as they can give the input for the better research. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Janan. Professor Ranjit Singh, one quick comment.
Sir, I have already mentioned the points basically, but just to say that there is a need to create conducive atmosphere for the research in terms of dedicated human resources and as well as physical resources. That's what we need, and we need to approach industry from around us and find out a scope for collaboration. That is it.
So thank you very much. Thanks to the all panelists that you have made a great and tremendous contribution for the promotion of the research and for the promotion of the interaction between the universities and the industries. Thank you very much. And it was a wonderful, nice discussion and productive discussion, I will say. And some of the recommendations which have been made. So thank you very much for joining with us. Now we are breaking for the lunch, and at 2:30 we will meet with the second panel of the discussions. And I hope that we will continue to have such type of the discussions, and we will continue to have the most productive interactive sessions with the universities and the industries for the betterment of the society, for the Atmanirbhar Bharat, for the betterment of the project, for the better quality of the students, better education, for the better product, and for the bringing the India at the top level in the world. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining with us, and have a nice day. Thank you.